The men's and women's ice hockey teams were both in action this past weekend.
Women's soccer began their run for a MAC title, while the men's team is still looking for that playoff berth.
All of this and much more as Sports Paws starts right now. Welcome to Sports Paws. I am Gage Kilborn, and the man sitting next to me is Ben Kane. Now, Ben, are you excited for your first time on air?
Gage, I'm absolutely ecstatic. Obviously, me and you have worked well together behind the scenes, but I'm ready to see how well we bring this dynamic to in front of the camera tonight.
Absolutely. Let's begin on ice hockey. The 5th-ranked men's ice hockey team hosted Holy Cross this Tuesday. Let's roll the tape. The number 5 Bobcats taking on Holy Cross. They get set for this non-conference tilt at home. Let's go to the first period. Holy Cross looking to go for a change while dumping the puck, but they aren't able to get it into the zone. The puck goes to Ethan Lay, who buries it 5-hole on a partial breakaway. 1-0 Bobcats lead early. Heading into the second period we go. Quinnipiac scored moments ago to make it 2-0. Now it's Holy Cross's turn to catch Quinnipiac in a line change, and it's Grayson Constable on the odd man rush to cut the lead in half. 2-1 Bobcats lead still. Still in the second period, however, power play time for the Bobcats, going to work it around every Bobcat stick to touch the puck, and it's the captain Wyatt Bongiovanni who pokes it in. 3-1 Bobcats extend their lead. Heading into the third period now. Quinnipiac and Holy Cross would exchange goals in the third, but Dylan St. Cyr would shut the door, making 19 saves to pick up his second win as a Bobcat. Quinnipiac wins 5-2, improves to 4-1-1 on the year.
The Bobcats were looking to keep up this momentum as they headed into a 2-game home series against AIC. Let's see how they did. The first game of the series ended in a 2-2 tie. It was a back-and-forth game with Jake Stella scoring midway through the second period. The Bobcats equalized just seconds later thanks to a goal from Jacob Quillen. Once again, the Bobcats went down, this time in the third period, but a goal from CJ McGee was enough to force a tie.
Following the 2-2 tie against the Yellow Jackets on Friday, the Bobcats look to rebound on Parents' Weekend. Let's see the tape. Quinnipiac men's ice hockey hosting the AIC Yellow Jackets for the second game of the weekend series. We jump quickly into the first period, and it is Quinnipiac opening the scoring as Zach Metza sends a beautiful cross-eyed pass over to Ty Smolanek, who scores. Now this play is so nice, we have to look from another angle. Metza puts the puck right at Smolanek's stick, and he buries it. 1-0 Bobcats lead going into the second period. After CJ McGee sprawls out to block an AIC pass attempt, the Bobcats get caught puck watching as it's Justin Cole who ties it for AIC, and it's now a 1-1 game. Later in the second period, however, check out this effort from Jaden Lee going north-south, blown by AIC defenders, but can't get it past Alec Calvaruso. We're still tied going into the third period. It's once again Metza setting up a teammate, and Oliver Chow gets it by everyone except the post for the second straight night. These teams will head to overtime. And it's Zach Metza doing it himself. Let's listen to the crowd's reaction on this one-timer, and it is a 2-1 lead win for the Bobcats as they take the series. Following the overtime thriller, let's take a look at the latest USCHO poll in Division I men's ice hockey. The number 1 team is still St. Cloud State as the Huskies received 29 first-place votes. Meanwhile, Minnesota State and Michigan flipped between numbers 2 and 3 in the poll. The Mavericks goaltender Dryden McKay just made history by breaking the NCAA record for career shutouts with 27. The 3-time national champions Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs are in as the 4th-ranked team in the country, with Minnesota following close behind to round out the top 5. Quinnipiac dropped to 6th in the poll following their 2-0-1 week against AIC and Holy Cross. An ECAC team to look for is the 13th-ranked Harvard Crimson, who dominated in their ECAC win against Dartmouth. The Crimson also received a first-place vote.
After a 13-day break, the women's hockey team were back in action as they traveled to Rhode Island to take on Brown on Friday. Let's see how they fared against the Bears. The Bobcats had an emphatic return to the ice, beating Brown by a scoreline of 5-3. The Bobcats went up by 4 goals in the first period thanks to goals from Agia, Samoskevich, Steigoff, and Riley. The Bears tried to mount a comeback and got 2 goals, but were finished off late in the second period by a shorthanded goal from Taylor House. The Bobcats returned from Providence and just 21 hours later welcomed their arch rivals, the People's United Center. The Bobcats were able to keep their undefeated start to the season alive as they took down Yale and Hamden by a score of 3-1. The Bobcats were able to utilize their power play well, with Kate Riley scoring in the last seconds of the first period. After an equalizer midway through the second period, the Bobcats came storming back with goals from Steigoff and Hoskin to close out the game.
Following the Bobcats' 2 strong wins, the USCHO came out with a new poll for women's ice hockey. The 2-time defending national champions Wisconsin Badgers still have a strong hold on the 1 spot, receiving all 15 first-place votes. Following the Badgers are 2 more WCHA foes in Ohio State and Minnesota, going 2 and 3 respectively. The ECAC heavy favorite Colgate Raiders moved up to 4 in the recent poll, following a statement win against Harvard. Northeastern comes in next at 5, as the Huskies are still looking for their first national championship. Minnesota Duluth moved up to 6, following Boston College's 2 devastating losses to Northeastern. Boston College drops 3 ranks from being the 4th best team to the 7th best team this week. 3 ECAC schools round out the top 10, with Quinnipiac, Harvard, and Clarkson taking 8, 9, and 10 respectively. Women's soccer closes out their regular season against Fairfield. Let's see how they fared. The Bobcats were able to come away with a shutout victory, winning 3-0. Markela Baleri scored 2 goals in the game. Sophomore goalkeeper Sofia Lospinoza was in net for Quinnipiac, as she had only 2 shots against her, and she saved both of them. Quinnipiac also dominated the corner kicks battle with 10 corners compared to Fairfield's 4. With a win, Quinnipiac clinches the 2nd seed in the MAC women's soccer tournament, while Fairfield clinched the 6th seed of the tournament.
With this win, the Bobcats finished 2nd in the MAC and faced off in the MAC quarterfinals against Marist on Sunday. So let's bring you the action from that game. It was Halloween in Hamden, and the number 2 seeded soccer team hosted number 7 Marist for the quarterfinals yesterday. Starting in the first half, it's a long attempt from Marist. Amanda Caldarelli sends a shot that goalkeeper Sofia Lospinoso is just able to tip away. Now a Quinnipiac try. This cross is bounced off Marist' Autumn Smith, and Lauren Wendland recoups to make a sliding shot, but goalkeeper Natalie Kelster dives to get it. Still in the first half, and Quinnipiac have a huge opportunity as Selena Salas lines up for the penalty, jukes out goalkeeper Natalie Kelchner, but puts it wide, keeping it 0-0 heading into the second half. Now in the second half, it's Salas again, looking for redemption this time. This perfectly placed ball as Gretchen Krohn dives to blast this header into the net, and the Bobcats take the 1-0 lead, and you can tell just how much it means to them and the fans. Just a few minutes later, and the Bobcats are attacking again. Olivia Kudryko feeds it to Salas, little replay action as she attempts the diving header, but misses wide. And with the clock winding down, Marist makes one last attempt as Victor Kolatosti darts past 2 Bobcats and lets it fly. But Lospinoso makes the save, and that ends the game, 1-0 Quinnipiac. After this 1-0 win against Marist, let's see how the MAC bracket is looking. Heading into the MAC semifinals, the bracket is reorganized, and each team is given a new seed. Monmouth and Quinnipiac both retain their 1st and 2nd seed, respectively, while Siena jumps to 3rd and Fairfield to 4th. Quinnipiac now faces off against Siena on Thursday at 2 o'clock right here in Hamden.
Q30's own Connor Core is going to tell us the 3 key takeaways from the Bobcats' win over Marist. Connor?
Thanks, Gage. This past Sunday, the Quinnipiac Bobcats women's soccer team took on the visiting Marist Red Foxes with a final score of 1-0, and in the 67th minute, a goal was scored by Gretchen Krohn. Here are my 3 takeaways from this game this past Sunday. Number 1, David Clark is a tactical genius. Enough said. With the head coach with over 200 wins and a ton of experience under his belt, moved Rebecca Cook to a back to a right back the past few games, and the teams have been focusing around the scoring machine that Cook is and has been throwing them off their game. And moving over to the Marist Red Foxes, they're going to be higher than number 7 come this time next year for the MAC standings. Monmouth, QU, and then Marist finishing at around 3 or 4. This past season, they started a lot of seniors in their starting lineup, but rotated in a lot of underclassmen. Next season, look for those underclassmen to play a bigger role in the Marist Red Foxes' success. And point number 3, and my final point, they need to put goals in the back of the net, plain and simple. There's a nail-biting win against Marist, and if they want to make a deep run into the MAC playoffs, they need to be scoring a lot of goals for moving forward against Siena and possibly even Monmouth in the MAC championships. They can't be, like I said earlier, they can't be winning these close 1-0, 2-0, looking for goals off of lucky chances. And that's all I have for you guys. Let's take it back to the desk.
After a standout performance all season, it's no wonder that several Bobcats were awarded individual awards. Let's see who made an all-MAC team from this Quinnipiac women's soccer team. Rebecca Cook and Selena Salas were the obvious choices for the first team, with Cook finishing the year second most in goals in the MAC, and Salas getting the most assists and the 5th most goals. Goalkeeper Sofia Lospinoso made the second team after registering 4 shutouts, and is joined on the list by junior midfielder Markela Bailey, who had a career season registering 3 goals and 4 assists as well.
We are going to take a quick commercial break, but don't go anywhere. Coming up, we have men's soccer, field hockey, and so much more.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Welcome back to Sports Paws. We're going to take a look at men's soccer on the playoff push. Having been projected to win the MAC, it's do or die time for the men's soccer team with only 3 games left in the season. Each game is basically a playoff game as they started the week in the 8th spot inside the playoffs. Just like the women's team, the Bobcats faced off against Fairfield, but the game ended in a different result.
The Bobcats will come up short, losing to the Stags 1-0. Quinnipiac outshot the Stags 8-4, and the Fairfield goalkeeper, Marmont, saved all 8 shots and assists in the victory. The big setback for the Bobcats was the fouls, as they had more fouls than the Stags, 9-7. For the first time this season as well, the men's soccer team have found themselves outside of a playoff berth in the MAC. They had the opportunity to get back in with the game against Monmouth over the weekend. Here come the highlights from this game. It's senior day in Hamden as 10 seniors were honored before the game as a part of the celebration. Now let's take you to the action early in the first half. James Conner on the edge of the box and shoots it to the far post, and Jared Mazzola can only watch as this ball goes in the back of the net for Manhattan to lead 1-0. And in a do-or-die game, you can see just how much it means to Manhattan to get that early goal within those first few minutes. But here come Quinnipiac now, and Brogosson with the beautiful touch, and he slots it home to that left corner, and the MAC projected player of the season does it again in Hamden to tie up the game. Just a few minutes later, the ball comes in and Sam McCann flicks it on to Griffin Scalia, and he puts up the Bobcats 2-1. And in the grad student's senior day, he looks ecstatic to score that goal. Now on to the second half. Brogosson with a 1v1 and the keeper. He goes around it and tucks it nicely into that left corner with his second of the game and his 11th goal of the season, putting Quinnipiac up 3-1. Now Paulo Suarez with a beautiful ball into the box, and Sam McCann leaps up and his header goes in the back of the net, and the first-year student scores, ending the game 4-1.
Following the Fairfield win, let's see where Quinnipiac looks in the MAC standings. Marist leads the conference with a 6-2-1 conference record. Quinnipiac currently sits in 8th in the MAC with a 4-5 conference record. Ryder is in 2nd in the MAC with a 5-3-1 record. If the playoffs were to start today, Quinnipiac will travel to New York to take on the Marist Red Foxes.
After an impressive overtime win against Villanova, the field hockey team looked to win their first set of consecutive games this season as they took on Providence College. The Bobcats closed out Big East play with a 2-5 loss. After going down by 4 and being outshot by 11-5, the Bobcats bounced back and scored 2 goals thanks to a first career goal for Markela Gray-Ellis and Juliana Capello. They turn their attention now to their final game of the season against Sacred Heart.
Following the Bobcats' loss to Providence, let's see how they did against Sacred Heart. Roll the clip. Let's head to Hamden, where Quinnipiac celebrated Senior Day for their final game of the regular season against Sacred Heart. And we will begin here in the first quarter following the Senior Day celebration. And Quinnipiac gets an early opportunity to take the lead with a penalty corner, but the shot goes high. We will be still held scoreless going into the second quarter. In the second quarter, however, we will not be scoreless as freshman Amelia Mozzarelli jukes out the goalie to score her 9th goal of the year, and the Bobcats take a 1-0 lead. Heading into the third, still 1-0 Bobcats lead. It's Mozzarelli again, who shoots and scores her 10th goal of the season. Fun fact, she's the only Quinnipiac field hockey player to score 10 goals in the last decade. 2-0 Bobcats lead heading to the fourth quarter. Sacred Heart's goalie dives and Josie Sweeney finds the ball to score. But wait, the refs called a penalty. Prior to the goal, Quinnipiac will get a penalty shot. Rachel Peppernick gets the penalty shot and converts to score her first goal of the season. Bobcats defeat the Pioneers 3-0 to end the year.
And with that, the field hockey's regular season comes to an end in the Big East. Let's see how they did in the standings. While the Bobcats were able to register one more win overall than they did last year, they finished conference play with a record of 1-6. This landed them at the bottom of the pack, with their only win coming against Villanova in overtime. Liberty won the conference after going undefeated in it, with Old Dominion and UConn finishing right behind them with a 5-2 record in the conference. Although the Bobcats finished last in the Big East, they were able to register one more win this season. With many notable moments, let's run you through the best moments of the season. With the field hockey season ending, let's check out the top 3 plays from this team. At play 3, Amelia Mozzarelli shoots an amazing backhand shot to score against Yale. Don't worry, we will be seeing Mozzarelli in a Quinnipiac uniform later on. For play 2, we enter overtime. It's a dead ball situation, and we're waiting to see as Amelia Mozzarelli gets the puck. She gets it and jukes out one defender and sneaks it to the left side of the goalie for the Bobcats to defeat Villanova 5-4 in their only Big East Conference win that season, and look how much it means to this team. Play number 1, we are in overtime against the Yale Bulldogs. Stella Tickmeyer goes past multiple defenders, and look at the moves there as she finds a sliding Brooke Whipke to win 3-2. The Bobcats gained their first win of the season, and that wraps up the top 3 plays.
With one fall sports season in the books, another is looking for a prime playoff spot. Let's see how the women's volleyball team did against Fairfield. Following the loss to number 1 Fairfield, as it's a 3-1 victory for the Fairfield Stags, coming off of that, and 57 kills for the Stags compared to 48 for the Bobcats and 4 aces for Quinnipiac, however, but Fairfield was able to predict all the attacks with 17 blocks. Following the loss to number 1 Fairfield, let's take a look at the MAC volleyball standings. As you see on your screen, the Fairfield Stags have a stronghold of first place. In the MAC, the defending MAC champions, Ryder Bronx, currently have the 2nd seed in the conference. Quinnipiac is currently in 6th place in the standings with a 7-7 record. If the postseason were to begin today, they will be projected to play against the Marist Red Foxes, who hold the 3 seed with a 10-4 record, although Quinnipiac has a 2-game lead over Siena. If Siena and Quinnipiac enter a tie, the Bobcats will win the tiebreaker because they defeated Siena twice in the regular season.
So stick with us, because after the break, we'll bring you the latest action from rugby to cross country, and of course, the top 5 plays. We'll be right back.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job. I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working. I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Greg, come on man, let's split a ride home.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Jules, spotting on this last one. There it is. Keep going with it. Leo.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
Welcome back to Sports Paws. The Quinnipiac rugby team will look to close out on the regular season against Mount St. Mary's. Let's see how they fare. And the Bobcats will come away with a dominating victory, 29-5, as they were able to lead 3-2 with the tries and able to control 3-0 with the conversions as well. After this win, the Bobcats will come away with a 2-4 record in the NIRA.
The Bobcats will hold the 5th seed in the NRA tournament, and they will be taking on the Brown Bears, who finished with a 3-2-1 record. And they also defeated Quinnipiac earlier this season, 26-20. Dartmouth won the regular season title with a 7-0 record and will face off against LIU in the NRA quarterfinals. This wrapped up the season for the rugby team, so let's see where they ended up in the NRA standings. After starting off the season with the hot start against Sacred Heart, the Bobcats found themselves on a 4-game skid, losing to Dartmouth, Army, Harvard, and Brown. Their 2-0 run at the end of the season saw them finish 6th in the NIRA. Dartmouth finished the top with Harvard, Army, and Brown rounding out the Final Four in that order. From Hamden to Florida, the men's cross-country team traveled to Orlando to run for the MAC championship. Let's see how they did. And the Bobcats finished 8th in the standings. Cameron Starr led the way for the Bobcats with a 56th second place finish, followed by Cameron Carbello and Matthew Burke. Iona won the race and finished the first place for the 31st time, with 7 of their runners finishing in the top 10. The Final Four was rounded out by Monmouth, Siena, and Manhattan, respectively.
Not only did the men's cross-country team compete in Orlando, the women's cross-country team was also looking for a MAC title. For the 6th straight season, Iona's men's and women's teams took the MAC title, but women's team won just by 25 points. Quinnipiac finished in 3rd place in the MAC championships with 84 points. Sophomore Liv DeStefano finished 5th overall in the race with a 21-20 and finished 1st for Quinnipiac scoring with 5 points. Emily Young came in behind her with a 21-25 to come in 6th overall and scored 6 points for the Bobcats. The women's cross-country team will be competing in the NCAA Northeast Regional Championships in Boston, Massachusetts. Emily Young was once again named MAC Runner of the Week for women's cross-country. Young received this award this past Wednesday after finishing 2nd in the Central Connecticut State Invitational with a time of 9:38 for a 3K. This 2nd place finish helped lead her team to a 2nd place overall finish in the Invitational out of 13 schools involved. Young has showed time and time again that she is the biggest threat on the course, regardless of the distance and the gradient.
Hey Gage, it's that time.
I believe it is. It's time for top 5 plays. You take the evens, I take the odds.
That sounds like a great plan, Gage.
All right, let's roll the highlight. We begin with play number 5, and I think this is probably going to be one of the plays to look over a couple of times, as it's men's ice hockey against AIC. Overtime shot by Zach Metza as he comes down the ice and gets the clean goal.
And at play number 4, it comes from that men's soccer game against Manhattan. There's a beautiful touch from Brogosson, and he volleys it into that left-handed corner, putting the Bobcats up in that game.
That might be nice, but it can't beat play number 3 of field hockey versus Yale. Stella Tickmeyer coming in hot as she maneuvers through Yale defenders, does a spin and passes it to Brooke Whipke for the goal. First win for the Bobcats that season.
Now, Gage, that might have been better than my 4th play, but what about this 2nd play? An inbound kick from the corner kick as Sam McCann flicks it on to Griffin Scalia, and he sneaks it past the goalkeeper, once again putting those Bobcats back up in the lead.
What's better than regular soccer? It's playoff soccer, and that's what play number 1 is. As it's the first round of the MAC tournament, Gretchen Crone kicks the one and only goal of the game for the Bobcats to win. Look at that celebration.
And what a week of action we had this week. Gage, what was your favorite game this week so far?
So far this week, I have to say it has to be the men's ice hockey game against AIC for Parents Weekend. My parents came out and we had a great time watching that game. It went into an overtime thriller nonetheless. What was yours?
Yeah, I think mine had to have been the men's soccer game against Manhattan. Obviously, they were fighting for that playoff spot, and to see them go up 2-1 early on and just keep going and going to score 4 goals against a very good Manhattan side. But with those games in mind, we have a few games in store for the next weekend. First off, we have men's soccer as they take on St. Peter's in their final game of the season, looking to get into that playoff spot, as well as men's ice hockey as they take on Yale on Friday, along with women's ice hockey as they play Friday at 6 p.m. And another playoff game, we see the women's soccer team taking on Siena on Thursday at 2 o'clock in the semifinals. Gage, what are you looking forward to this weekend?
I'm going to say I'm looking forward to Quinnipiac women's ice hockey, their first home game with fans in the ECAC conference play. And what would be yours? I know Ryder coming in as their big loss to Monmouth. You had them going all the way this year in the MAC championship.
Yeah, I was a little upset that Ryder did go out so early, but I'm looking forward to that women's soccer game versus Siena to push them into that finals if they can win. And that's all the time we have for you this evening as well.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Q30 Sports, and you can find even more of our content on Q30TV.com. Be sure to download the Q30 app, which is now available on the App Store and Google Play.
For every one of us behind the scenes, we thank you so much for watching. For Gage Kilborn, I am Ben Kane. Good night from Hamden.